Hey, I'm Dom, and these are the Raid Files, your monthly dose of everything AI and cybersecurity. So if you've been paying attention this year, you know AI has been everywhere, including in the hands of adversaries. And in the last 6 months, there has been a flood of reports about it. AI labs, EDR vendors, Google, GitLab, everyone had something to say, which is great, but that's also a lot to read through and try and piece together. And honestly, just trying to figure out what's actual risk versus just a catchy headline has been a job in and of itself. So with a new financial year coming up, I thought this was the perfect time to consolidate it all into one place. In this video, I'll walk you through what's become established practice for adversaries using AI, what's new in 2026, and how you can think about what's coming up next. We'll get into the details in just a second, but if you're short on time, let me give you a quick rundown that frames everything else in this video. So first things first, attackers are getting faster. We all kind of knew that, but I don't think many of us realized just how fast. The average time from initial access to lateral movement is now 29 minutes. That is down 65% from 2024. The fastest CrowdStrike recorded? 27 seconds. In one intrusion, data exfiltration started within 4 minutes. Given this, it probably won't surprise you to hear that AI has become a core part of how adversaries operate. AI-enabled attacks are up 89% year on year. And then there's this. 82% of CrowdStrike's detections in 2025 were malware-free. Attackers aren't breaking in. They're logging in. Valid credentials, trusted identity flows, approved SaaS integrations. And let's face it, under-researched AI tooling all play a part. So the picture heading into the new financial year is more attacks, faster attacks, and attacks that look a lot like normal activity. In terms of who's attacking, the usual suspects are still China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. No surprises there. But it's not just the nation states anymore. The underground market for AI attack tooling is growing fast. Alongside regular AI, this has enabled many private and less skilled adversaries achieve a lot more than they ever could have before. So how can you stay ahead? Well, the thing is, the tools adversaries are using aren't special. They're the same ones me and you use every day. Things like ChatGPT, Claude, Cursor. There's no secret adversary AI. It's just our AI used differently. So if you want to stay ahead, my main tip is to regularly ask yourself, how would I use the tools available today to breach my own organization? Because that's exactly what adversaries are doing. And I'm about to tell you how. So let's get into it. Starting off with AI's research capabilities, because that's where adversaries have gotten the most mileage. A year ago, a targeted phishing email might reference your company and your job title. Now, adversaries are using AI to map out an entire organization before they even send a single message. Org charts, reporting lines, individual interests, and it's not just text. The images and videos you post are also being processed for anything that helps to build a profile. Iran's APT-42 has been doing this consistently, impersonating academics and think tank researchers, offering cool consulting opportunities. OpenAI documented several actors building organizational profiles at scale using ChatGPT. And the output is convincing. The messages are fluent, they use regional terminology, and they come from personas that just feel real. A consulting opportunity that matches your research area, a conference invitation from an institution that you would recognize. The old tells like spelling mistakes, awkward grammar, those are basically gone. And it makes impersonation a lot easier too. A call to IT referencing your manager's name and perhaps Dave from accounting. That sounds pretty legit and can be gathered in seconds. But it goes beyond phishing and vishing. Adversaries are applying those same research capabilities more broadly, whether that's analyzing data or upskilling. Cases of trawling through stolen credential dumps to figure out which accounts are worth targeting all the way to upskilling in new cloud environments have all been noted. The common thread is that AI is making things faster, especially the preparation phase. And you don't need to be a prompt wizard to do any of this. You just need access to an LLM chatbot. And while we're on the topic of these widely available chatbots, I have to mention prompt injection. With every new model release, we hear that safety has improved, but basic role-playing and reassurance prompts still work. Google has reported an adversary bypassing guardrails throughout their entire operation successfully just by framing their request as a simple CTF. And less than a month ago, actors jailbroke Claude and ChatGPT in a campaign that led to the theft of 150 gigabytes of Mexican government data. This matters beyond just adversary behavior. If you're building AI into your own products or internal tools, the same weaknesses apply. I'm sure you've all seen the recent memes about a simple jailbreak that turns Chipotle's chatbot into a free LLM, for example. While that particular case was just some researchers having fun, it all shows how easy it is to get AI to do something it perhaps shouldn't be doing. With LLMs explicitly trained to complete the tasks we give them, and a recent study even showing them breaching systems to do so, even when they're not explicitly asked to. Prompt injection means data leakage risks for anything you ship with AI in it, especially if it's connected to tooling or internal knowledge bases. If you're not thinking about it with the same seriousness as SQL injection, then perhaps that is a gap worth closing. Now, onto AI's coding capabilities, because if research is where adversaries have gotten the most mileage, coding is where things are evolving the fastest. There's been a lot of reporting on this. In October, OpenAI identified Russian-speaking developers using ChatGPT to refine malware, remote access trojans, credential stealers, detection evasion features. But what's maybe more interesting is what AI coding capabilities mean for people who couldn't do this before. One individual used Claude to build and sell ransomware as a service, reportedly featuring advanced evasion techniques, despite having limited technical knowledge. Whether it actually worked well isn't very clear, but that's almost besides the point. The barrier to producing convincing sellable attack tooling has dropped dramatically. And that connects to a wider trend. There is now an underground market where you can buy AI tools for almost any stage of an attack. Phishing kits, malware builders, jailbroken LLMs with no restrictions, all on subscription. The skill floor is dropping fast. But where I think AI's coding capabilities get really interesting, and where we'll see a lot more in 2026, is when you combine them with orchestration. Remember how fast those breakout times are getting? That's not teams of specialists working through playbooks. That's the kind of speed you get when AI is handling most of the implementation. The best documented example of this is an operation known as GTG 2002. A criminal group used Claude Code and its sub-agent capability alongside MCP service to semi-autonomously carry out infiltration attacks. AI was used across the entire operation: recon, credential harvesting, network penetration, even writing ransom notes that were tailored to each victim. The operators made the strategic decisions, but AI handled much of the technical work. Point isn't that one person did everything, it's that AI's coding capabilities and orchestration frameworks allow small operations or unskilled individuals to achieve things they never could have before. This means faster attacks, more of them, and with custom-generated malware that might not match known signatures. I want to also mention adversaries not only using the AI's coding capabilities to attack organizations, but to also get hired by them, as this has been something that's been repeatedly mentioned in almost every threat intel report from all the big AI labs. The pipeline works something like this. A state-sponsored team builds fake identities, AI headshots, fake passports, accounts on LinkedIn and freelancing platforms. And they do this at scale. GitLab alone has documented at least 135 in their recent report. These personas then apply for remote jobs and mostly technical roles. Anything from freelancing gigs to full-time positions. They pass technical interviews, they ship work, and they hold down roles at Fortune 500 companies. But according to Anthropic's findings, they appear to be completely dependent on AI. Many couldn't independently write basic code or professional emails without it. About 60% of their Claude usage was reportedly front-end development, which either gives us an insight into the types of roles these people are going for or the gaps in their knowledge. The FBI estimates these operations generate hundreds of millions a year for North Korea's weapon programs. And Pindrop puts it in another way. Roughly 1 in 6 remote job applicants show signs of fraud. There's also a parallel campaign where fake recruiters send coding tests to targets, and then those tests run malicious loaders. GitLab banned 131 accounts involved in this in 2025 alone. So what can you do? First of all, favor live technical assessments over take-home tests. Strengthen identity verification for remote hires, and watch for signs of heavy AI dependency, unusual hours, camera reluctance, AI filters on video calls, and tighten contractor access, limit repo permissions, enforce device checks, and watch for geographic anomalies. So far, the fake employee pipeline has run mostly on static images, but that is moving into live interactions. In one campaign, North Korean actors used deepfake video to impersonate crypto industry figures. Here, the targets were persuaded to download a malicious Zoom SDK that delivered a backdoor. Separately, researchers identified adversaries contacting senior US officials while simultaneously researching live swapping software. Not pre-recorded deepfakes, live ones. The gap right now? I think it's voice. In 2025, a group called Chatty Spider targeted law firms with a simple approach. Call employees, persuade them to install remote management tools, and exfiltrate data. Old school social engineering over the phone. Now imagine that same playbook, but with convincing AI-generated voices at scale. Phishing proof of concepts are already circulating, but I haven't seen any specific reports. I think it's one to watch. Lastly, I just want to touch on state-sponsored social influence campaigns. They've been running on Gen AI for a long time now. Starting off as written content in tweets or LinkedIn posts, they're now accelerated by AI-generated images and videos. Visuals tend to give us a false sense of proof of credibility, so this is a big problem. And in a world where things can go viral in seconds, make sure you're getting your information, whether personally or professionally, from sources you trust. Sounds obvious, right? But take OpenClaw as an example. It got so big so fast. The hype was real. Many people installed it, many senior leadership installed it, without many questions. The dangers and vulnerability reports rolled out soon after, but by then it's too late. And just imagine if that code included malware. The through line, seeing and hearing aren't enough anymore. Verified channels and out-of-band confirmation are becoming table stakes. Now, what we've covered so far, I would say is pretty established. AI making existing tactics faster and easier to execute. But what's coming up next is different. First up, malware that uses AI while it runs. Google Threat Intelligence team identified this for the first time in 2025. Not AI being used to write malware, that's old news. This is malware that calls an LLM mid-execution as part of how it operates. Two examples show where this is heading. PromptFlux is a VB script dropper that once an hour calls the Gemini API to rewrite its own source code. It tells Gemini to act as an expert VB script obfuscator and uses the response to mutate itself. Every hour, the code looks different. If your detection relies on matching known signatures, this is designed to beat it. It's still experimental, but the concept works. Now, prompt steal is the one worth paying attention to because it's already out in the wild. Attributed to Russia's APT-28 deployed against targets in Ukraine. It's a data miner that queries an open source LLM on Hugging Face to generate commands on the fly. Nothing is hard-coded. The first documented case of LLM querying malware in live operations. A few others worth knowing. HonestKey calls Gemini's API to generate stage 2 payload code. PromptLock is experimental ransomware that uses an LLM to generate scripts for recon and encryption. And QuietVault is a credential stealer that uses whatever AI tools are already on the host to hunt for secrets. Notice the variety: Gemini, open source models on Hugging Face, and AI tools that have already been installed on the host. Adversaries aren't tied to one provider, so blocking one API won't solve this. The practical step? Start monitoring for AI API calls from endpoints that shouldn't be making them. A production server talking to Gemini or Hugging Face is worth investigating. Treat AI model traffic the same way you would monitor for C2 communication. Last topic, and in a way, this is the one that matters the most because everything we've just covered exists for a reason. The recon patterns, the fake employees, the malware workflows. We know about all of it because adversaries use commercial AI platforms with logging, safety controls, usage monitoring. So what happens when adversaries stop using those platforms? In February, Anthropic attributed large-scale distillation attacks to 3 Chinese labs: DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax. Over 16 million exchanges with Claude, around 24,000 fraudulent accounts. The goal? To extract Claude's core capabilities and transfer them into their own models. Google confirmed the same thing happening with Gemini. And the sophistication was striking. Proxy services running over 20,000 accounts simultaneously, extraction traffic deliberately mixed with legitimate requests. When Anthropic released a new model mid-campaign, Minimax pivoted within 24 hours, nearly half their traffic redirected. If this, executed by adversaries, succeeds and comparable capabilities end up in self-hosted models, the intelligence window we've been benefiting from starts to close. No logging, no guardrails, no threat reports. For you practically, if you expose AI models via APIs, watch for extraction patterns. Clusters of identical prompts from new accounts, attempts to surface the model's reasoning, coordinated multi-account activity. But what matters for everyone more broadly is to start factoring this into your threat modeling now. The assumption that adversary AI use creates observable telemetry may not hold much longer. And that's the landscape. Things are moving fast, but honestly, if you've watched this far, you're already ahead of most. Reports are all linked in the description. Subscribe if you want to stay in the loop, and I'll see you in the next one.